Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another segment of Fun N Games. I'm Michelle Stone.
I'm Jenna Rose.
And we are with the Underground Music Collective. We have a little bit of a different segment for you guys today. So normally, as you guys know, we do interview musicians. Well, we're doing a separate thing now. We're going to start a thing called Drinking with Founders. So we're sitting here with the one and only Aaron Schilb of Nashville Tour Stop.
Hello.
If you guys are familiar with Nashville Tour Stop, then you know all the great stuff he does around Nashville. If you're not, then Aaron, take it away and tell everyone a little bit about Nashville Tour Stop.
So Nashville Tour Stop started in 2018, and I co-founded it with another guy, and we were asked to host a writers' round every other week at a bar south of Nashville in exchange for free beer. So the fact that we get to drink right now is great. So right back to the basics for it. But it really grew out of kind of a community foundation, trying to get new songwriters, like the people that don't have a place to go, trying to give them a place to go. And now we have shows at half dozen venues every week here in Nashville. It's great.
And you just got a residency too. Is that the basement, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Aaron's been doing impressive things all around the city. You know, if you're a musician, a singer, songwriter, anyone that's doing music, and you've crossed paths with Nashville Tour Stop, you probably know how it's helped elevate your career, I would say. So you said it started in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I want to know how it went from just that to you've kind of grown like a mini empire.
That's what I called it yesterday when I was talking about it, actually.
Oh, yeah?
It actually kind of, so when I was doing it with the other guy who I co-founded it with, it was more of the show that was focused on us, the performers, the hosts. And when I took it over by myself, I kind of changed the looking glass, so to speak, to look out at the people and kind of made the show about the, bodies in the room rather than the people on the stage. So yes, we're all there to see the live music on stage, but we're not necessarily there to see the specific people. We're there for the atmosphere and the event itself. So the whole basis of it isn't watching music, it's getting to be involved in the music industry, the networking aspect of it.
And right now you're like the sole person who's doing, because when you go to a Nashville Tour Stop show, if you've ever been to one, you have banners on the TV, you have NTS at Alley Taps. I see it, you've branded yourself.
Got the merch.
Got the merch, which Miss Jenna is wearing right now. I decided to dress like a hippie, a Bangla right now, but he does have some great merch. Actually, this one in particular.
Long live live music.
Yeah, that's one that you still have for sale in your store, right?
Yep, I have those available now.
The Yeehaw Motherfucker was a...
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Is that...
Or no, that's the second newest one. The newest one is All Roads Lead to Nashville Tour Stop, and it's a map of the United States with all of the roads leading to Nashville.
How'd you come up with that slogan?
I honestly don't remember who told me that it would be a good idea, but they're like, you should have a slogan. And I just started brainstorming, and my buddy Paul was like, you should be like, all roads lead to Rome. And I was like, well, this isn't Italy.
This isn't Rome.
So... He's like, well, how about All Roads Lead to Nashville Tour Stop? And I was like, that's dumb. And I tried it at a show once, and someone was like, that's cool. I was like, damn it. Okay, I actually have to stick with that. And then I started saying it at the end of every round to I'm trying to further ingrain the tour stop culture into people. So by giving them a slogan or something that they can remember and take home is really, really useful for me.
Tour stop culture. Wow.
So when we first talked, you had talked about possibly taking Nashville Tour Stop on the road a little bit. And then everything happened. And
right.
So where is that in your realm of...
So I have taken it on the road before. I've done a couple of shows out of town. Our first event out of town was in New York City at a venue called Rockwood Music Hall, and we actually sold it out. So our first tour date was a big success. And the venue, when they booked us, they're like, well, we're not going to pay you because no one's going to come. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But when you are so crowded, you're kicking people out of the venue, and you ask us to come back to do the big stage, you have to pay us double. And they're like, okay, whatever. And then it was so crowded, they were kicking people out of the venue. And I said, money, please.
Nice.
And yeah, then we booked more shows in New York, and we had shows in LA and everything. And then COVID started, and then we canceled all of that. So right now I'm focusing on brand establishment local in Nashville, but the plan long term is to get it back on the road.
Yeah. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself though, being a business owner. Anyone that, if you're watching this and you're doing your own thing or even if you know people that do, it's not easy it's not easy running a business, making shows, all that. When you get into it, which me and Jenna found out because we co-founded Music City Movement together, that it takes a lot of work. What's your background in doing all of this? Like, did you go to school, or did you just like kind of?
I went to college. I transferred 3 times. I had 4 majors, so I'm not good at anything. I tried getting into business school, and I wasn't accepted because I had bad grades. And I eventually graduated with a general studies degree, which means I'm okay at some things. And I'd always known, since I was 17, I've known that I wanted to be in music, whether it be playing or working in the industry in some capacity. So after I got out of college, I moved right to Nashville and started getting into the singer-songwriter circuit. And I was doing that so much. My first year in Nashville, I played 80 rounds myself, or 80 shows.
Wow.
Then my second year, which is when Nashville Tour Stop started, I did 140. So I started playing a ton and integrating myself really intensely into the songwriter community of Nashville. And then when bars started asking me to host shows, it wasn't just because I was like good on stage. It was because I had all the administrative stuff to be able to organize getting people to show up and making sure that there's consistent marketing and branding and all of that behind it.
I mean, you being a singer-songwriter too, which that's something about Aaron as well. So if you go to a Nashville Tour Stop show, you might be lucky enough to catch him actually playing his songs because he is an artist himself. So I guess you playing all those rounds kind of almost made you be like, there's not a good singer-songwriter like.
Helped you fill in where
Yeah,
Right.
everything was missing.
yeah. So that was kind of a good inspiration.
I would go
too.
to all of these rounds and I would see the things that I hated about all of them. I was like, okay, this round is at a cool bar, but no one knows what's happening because there's not somebody in charge. Okay, this bar doesn't have a sound guy. We need a good engineer. Okay, we have all of these things, but now we're at a gross bar. So we eventually just pieced together each different aspect of what makes a good show and put it into a venue that people actually want to go to.
And you choose specifically your venues for.
I have a
all
lot of venues
those.
reaching out to have shows, and I'm very particular about which ones I choose to go to.
But what makes you kind of more adamant to choose to go to a venue versus another one?
I choose specific venues based on like whether or not the people that I would book for my shows would go there in their free time.
Oh,
Because I don't want people to go to a bar that they wouldn't go to otherwise.
yeah.
Because if you wouldn't go to a bar, why would you invite your friends to go to that bar?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the just wanting people to show up. And a friend of mine last night was like, "Wow, you really convinced me to come out tonight." I was like, "That's the definition of my job. I convinced you to come hang out at my shows."
Well, because you coin yourself as not only the founder of Nashville Tour Stop, but you're a promoter as
Mhm.
well. You kind of put that out there. They're like, I'm not just a founder. Like, I'm the sole promoter of this.
Right.
And you seem to have done it literally with no knowledge of running a business other than just like learning by failing forward.
Yep.
In a sense.
I would go to all of these other shows and see what I didn't like about them and was just like, okay, this sucks. I'm going to go do it better. And it's worked for years now. Like this has been my full-time job for a couple of years, and that's why when I get all of these other bars like, well, why wouldn't we hire your competitors to do this? And I say, well, you can, that's fine, but they have day jobs, they have families, they have kids, they have other responsibilities. You're my only responsibility here. If you hire me, you're all I'm focused on. So being able to give all of my attention and time to one place at a time has really worked well for Tour Stop.
So you mentioned you moved here from Nashville, which I know this, we're not talking new here, we're friends. But for people that are just watching and finding out about Nashville Tour Stop, or maybe you're like us and you know a lot about Aaron and Nashville Tour Stop, but you don't really know kind of where it started. Like, where are you from, and where was Aaron born, and like?
I was born in Columbia, Missouri, about 7 hours from Nashville, and I grew up in a really musical family, so I've always been involved in music in some capacity. My mom actually had a pub deal here in Nashville for a long time, and
really,
she lived up in Missouri, but she wrote songs and did all of that. So music's been part of my family my entire life. My dad's a pianist, and my brothers have master's degrees in music, and I'm the only one who ended up actually doing music for
Isn't that the classic
career.
Story?
Yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
yeah.
Especially doing it full time, having it be your full time career, because a lot of people, stay in music for a lifetime, but not many have made it their full time career.
When people say Nashville is a 10-year town, that's a farce. It's just you got to work hard. how bad do you want it?
That's so
Yeah,
true
I believe
too.
that.
You have to work hard. You have to put your elbows in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about something too. So I know we're not focusing on the fact that you're an artist, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about how he founded this business. And Jenna's also pouring some whiskey. So I want to make a note while we're here. I got the cheapest whiskey I could find, not because I'm a cheap person. I mean, kind of on a little something I am.
I mean,
But because I wanted to make a joke about it, and then he came in with his favorite whiskey, which you want to tell everyone what your favorite.
This is Bellmead Bourbon, Sour Mash, Whiskey Straight. It's local Nashville, brewed by Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. You can
Which
look
is
at
a
it there if you want.
sponsor of Nashville Tour Stop, right? So before I ask you the question, I was going to ask you, what, like, because you're such a convincing person, I feel like you could honestly sell salt to a snail. You have 2 sponsors now, PBR and Greenbrier.
PBR is not a sponsor.
Oh, they're not. They're just like a partner almost?
So PBR approved Aaron Schilb's Instagram account as a paid partner, and
Well, there you go.
How'd
they're
you
not
manage
actually
that?
paying, but I do that for fun. Every now and then I'll put PBR as a paid sponsor on an ad, because one of these days I'm going to be like, yeah, so I've been promoting you guys for years. You've never paid me.
I mean, it says we're paying. Like, this is kind of illegal for you to say you're not paying us, PBR.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but I do have a couple of other sponsors. So I have Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. I work with a artist management company called AGD, 0 to 60 by AGD. So they do like day-to-day management for singer-songwriters who might need like social media management or tour booking or
Oh, really?
anything
I went
like
through
that.
their program.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's impressive. Like, so, it's something about you, too, and I say this in, like, the most caring and great way. You're the most unprofessional professional I've met. And you kind of remind me of myself because, like, which is why me and Jenna work so well. Like, she's very put together, and I'm very, like, I'm on this spinning ball in the middle of outer space, and I don't really know what I'm doing at all times, but I'm just going to go with it, which is why we make such a good partnership. And you're almost like, I see myself a lot in you because I'll see you at your shows, and I'm like, he doesn't know what he's doing, but, like, he's doing it so well. Like,
Number of times I've gotten on the mic and started and not know where, okay, how do I get to the end of this sentence? I don't know how to get to the end of it. Okay, but we're going to get there, and we're just going to talk our way through it.
And good thing you have your slogan, because you'll be up on stage, and you're like, but all roads lead
If I finish anything right with that,
to the Nashville Tour
that means
Stop.
that means I'm done talking now.
Okay, so, ma'am, cheers real
Cheers.
quick
Cheers,
on
everybody.
camera.
Yes.
If you're drinking right now, if you're not, you should be, but this is your chance right now to cheers with us. So I do want to talk about your artist side a little bit. I know it's not something we're focusing on, but something that's very interesting about you is you are partially deaf, right? Sometimes I believe you use that. It's like, oh, I can't hear you. I just can't hear you.
I definitely do that.
Yeah, but you are. So tell people kind of like, do you want to talk about kind of how
Sure.
that happened? Like, just go deep.
So when I was 10, I failed one of those beep tests at school where they put the headphones on you. And you ever have those growing up? You
My
never
school
did?
was very ghetto. They didn't have anything. They were lucky to break up a fight that was happening in the A-Hall.
Yeah, they put on headphones and they're like, okay, raise your hand for whichever ear you hear. They're beeping, and I failed that. And they're like, hey, you should go see like a real doctor, not just the librarian.
That
And-
like also told me to take my snake bites out. Screw
Yeah,
you,
so
Dorothy.
I went to a doctor and they did an MRI scan and found that I have an inner ear disorder where all of the bones harden together. So as a 10-year-old, they're like, okay, what's that mean? And they're like, well, you're going to go deaf. And I'm like, okay, what's that mean?
I couldn't
like-
hear you.
They're like, that means your hearing's going to go away. And I was like, that sucks. So they told me by the time I was 30, my hearing would be almost entirely gone, which is pretty spot on. So I wear hearing aids in both ears, and I've lost probably 80-ish% of my hearing without them. And being in loud concert venues certainly doesn't help, but it's still is part of my life. So when I was a kid, like 16, 17, playing in rock bands in high school, my audiologists and my doctors were like, hey, you can't do this. Your hearing's going to get worse. And I literally was like, fuck you. Like, can we curse on this, by the way? You
Fuck
care?
yeah, we can.
Awesome.
Fuck yeah, we fucking can. So
was like-
an audiologist? That way, there's a. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
surprised. There's somebody that there's a job for everybody, but.
They told me that I had to quit playing music, and I was like, fuck you. I'm going to do it as long as I can.
I feel like that's like a quirk of yours, though. Like, that's also something that sets you apart because you do make music. Have you made albums yet? Or are you working on
I've
your
put out 3 albums.
3 albums? So you're working on Dad Bod, which you just released.
Dad Bod is so I do comedy music also.
Yeah.
Which
As
you guys
a
have both heard.
Tinder, or what was it, a Hinge girl said, you're the Weird Al Yankovic.
I am Yeehaw Weird Al.
Shout out to you, random Hinge girl that's probably watching this. No, I think that makes you unique in your own because you're not afraid to get on stage and just like show people like, look, I'm not only running this, but I'm playing.
I don't take myself seriously at all.
No, I mean, but I think that's what makes people respect you so much too, is because you get on stage and you're singing about like
being fat.
The funniest stuff, and you're also like, well, this guy is also the guy that's like running all of this, which just goes back to being like you're an unprofessional professional.
Well, it's very inspiring, because everybody that's here, everyone that are attending the shows, they're all just people trying to succeed, pretty much trying to succeed doing the same things that they're seeing you do and seeing everybody else in the room do. And so it's always really motivating to see somebody just being themselves, embracing themselves, and being successful at the same time. It's like it gives everybody permission to do that as well and to move forward authentically in what they're doing.
I think a lot of my successes come from my not listening to how people told me I should do things.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's all it takes is like, and me and Jenna talked about this too, like, all it takes is like, because I feel like everybody thinks there's like a blueprint to life and how you have to do things, and all it takes is one person being like, dude, no, fuck that. Like, I'm going to do it this way, and then people start being like, wait, you mean I can do like whatever I want?
That's why I was a bad employee at every job I ever had, because I would tell my superiors, you're doing it wrong. And they're like, this is my business. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. I'll tell you how you can do it better, and you're fired, Aaron.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go start my own business. So you're very involved not only with the community and making stuff, but you're really good friends with a lot of artists here in town. Like, so kind of, is there any other projects you're involved in or things that maybe you're kind of keeping low key that you're working on?
Not particularly. Nashville Tour Stop takes most of my time. I really like to keep it about the people. So when I'm not doing shows, I try to go out and support the people who I ask to come support me. So it goes back to why would I go to a bar if my friend wouldn't go there. I try to, if my friend is putting on a show and I have time, I would like to be able to go support those who choose to support me as well.
Do you have time for a social life? Or
No.
is your job your social life?
My job is a social
luckily,
life.
luckily it's a great social life,
And I know today you were working on, which me and Aaron's been talking about this, we just talked about you're working on buying
a house.
Buying a house.
It's awful and awesome. It's stressful and everything awesome and scary.
Mitchell over in the corner is laughing. For you guys that don't know, if you tune into Fun N Games and you're an avid watcher, which might be all 2 of you, you might notice that we are not in our normal studio. We're here at Real Music Nashville. Check out Real Music Nashville. Mitchell has decided to partner with the Underground Music Collective to throw this podcast. So we're very thankful that he lets us here. This is actually like a normal human home. It might look like it's a studio, but we're actually in this man's home. So we're really thankful to him over there. You guys check him out. But yeah, no, so buying a house, like, how does it feel? Like, at one point, have you been like, wow, I'm really in this adult stuff right now. Like, I'm buying a house, I'm running a business.
That made me realize Nashville Tour Stop was, like, legitimate. I was doing legitimate things like corporate relations for advertisers and sending invoices and buying a house and insurance.
Yeah, it's always those weird little moments where you're like, whoa.
When my dad quit asking me how I paid rent, that was when I knew.
He just kind of had, like, faith in you, too. I mean, well, because also, like, it's somehow, too, you've gotten a way of, like, because when I met you and came, I don't even remember, I know I came up to you at a show and I was like, hey, I've heard Nashville Tour Stop, and that's kind of how we met. But, like, your ability to make yourself known in the community, like, before people even meet you, people know about Nashville Tour Stop. Like, I've been at shows and I was like, well, that's the guy that runs it, right? And they're like, what? Like, people don't even know. It's almost like Nashville Tour Stop's gotten above you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like people don't even know it's you.
I recognized that shift because I'd had like 2,000 followers on my Instagram personally, and then Tour Stop had like 800. And then all of a sudden it was just, and then it flipped, and then it doubled what I had personally. And I was just like, okay, so this is this is officially bigger than me, which is why I kind of backed off from doing my artist career, which is still something I would love to be doing in my life and why I do it recreationally, but it's not something that I'm trying to do professionally at the moment. So someday when Nashville Tour Stop really does exist without me, I'll just take the money from it and then use that to fund the artist career.
You can find someone else to run it. That's kind of very similar to me, actually, because we're running Music City Movement, and I've recently decided to start making music, which Jenna's very supportive of. She's all for. I mean, she's honestly, like, she's probably my only fan. I don't really know. But it's kind of the same sense where you're like, you know, once I can get this up to where it's making money and maybe I can hire someone else to run it, then I can focus on making music, because I'm in the same spot where, like, I want to make music too, but it's like, I mean, I don't care.
Gotta pay bills.
I don't care. I mean, not even that. Also, it's like, I guess I'm not as big as a musician as, you know, other people that, like, that's their career.
Well, it's a passion project versus a career
A
for
career.
you.
Yeah. So tell me kind of about your writing style, though. So Dad Bod just came out. If you're watching this, we will link Dad Bod and all of his, you know, artist stuff if you want to pay attention to his music. Tell people about your writing process and how you write these songs.
I do have to always give the caveat, I do write serious music as well. My first legitimate cut just came out this past May of 2021 with S.J. McDonald. That was called Stop Sending Me Love Songs. And that's like a red dirt kind of country song.
Really?
But it's really rock and rolly. But I write regular songs, but that's not kind of what I enjoy doing. I grew up listening to Weird Al and like Bo Burnham. And
so he is an influence of yours, Weird Al.
Absolutely. He was the first album I ever bought with my own money.
Oh.
Weird Al Running with Scissors, 1999.
Man, that's a throwback.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people's childhood right there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of weird thinking about writing comedy music because so many people don't take it seriously. They think it's like a gimmick or it's a cop-out from like actual songwriting. But I've had some of like my closest friends and people whose songs I look up to say, okay, well, that was a joke, but that's actually really clever lyric writing because you have to kind of shuffle words and make the same word that means one thing means something different given context.
And you're saying everything everyone's thinking because your song about the country music, like, I don't know if I don't know if you've heard him saying it, but he talks about like a country song.
It's called How to Write a Country Song.
And it's the truest thing ever because, like, I thought of the word tractor, and in it he talks about just insert something about your tractor, drinking whiskey.
You gotta start it low, leave yourself some room to grow. Yeah. Then talk about a snap track and all that stuff.
I mean, it's a typical, and too, being in Nashville, because I'm born and raised here. She's from California. You know, you're from Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. I've never been to Missouri in my life. Honestly, forgot that state
Imagine
existed.
what Missouri is like. It's exactly like you imagine. Flat, boring, corn.
No one even knows incest, maybe.
Yeah.
Awful. No, but, like, that's always something I tell people, because, like, I was actually out at a show, and my friend, he was like, don't talk about my friends like that. Because I made a comment, I was like, oh, my God, this is typical country music. Dark, with my tractor, and I made a friend drinking a glass of whiskey. And, like, it's so refreshing to see you.
I love making fun of country music to country music fans with country music.
And people get offended, but you're just like, you're only mad because it's true.
Because it's true. Yeah, that's the best part.
I feel like anybody that gets mad, like,
It's
you
'cause
have to recognize the truths about your own industry, you know,
and
otherwise
embrace it.
We are all very aware of the stadium country sound. This variety
on, Mr.
of country
Kenny
music.
Chesney.
Yeah, we're all familiar with that type, so I like to make fun of that.
Oh,
But like with Dad Bod, I made it really old school, honky tonk sounding, and I'm going to put out another one in July called Third Wheel, which you've heard, I believe.
I have, yeah. You performed it at Alley-Tops, didn't you?
Yeah. The third wheel in my threesome.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that one out, and that's really old school country kind of sounds, pedal steel, and I put a slide whistle, like just goofy stuff. Because again, I'm not taking it seriously. It sounds good, and I'm producing it well, but you can produce stuff with jokes.
Right. And that's like a whole different
laugh.
skill set too. I mean, like what you were saying before, that sometimes people just write it off like it's not serious, but it's in order to make comedy isn't just something everyone can do, you know.
Oh yeah,
if
you watch stand-up comedy, these people almost script exactly what they're saying, but the way they speak it sounds off the cusp.
Right.
Well, so I have to ask, because this is something that I've fallen into the trap of, you know, I've always kind of hid myself through humor. Because a majority of people don't really know who I am. Like, a lot of people think, well, you do interviews, all this, like, you must be super extroverted. You must be. I'm really not. I hide a lot of myself in humor, and I put a lot of myself out there. Do you ever feel sometimes, like, making that kind of music, you fall into a trap of people not taking you serious enough?
I have played shows where people were like, or I've gone to co-writes, for example, where people are like, so do you write real music? I'm like, damn it. Yes.
Do you have a real face?
Yes. It's like, I've written more real music than I've ever written
That's so
funny
interesting
songs.
hearing that comes from other artists, too, because you would think that they would understand the writing process and respect.
Right. Everyone writes all kinds of different styles of music. And I don't just write comedy. I don't write just rock and roll, and I don't write just country. But I enjoy writing comedy the most because it makes me laugh.
And it's humor's a special spot too, because and we both can relate, being someone that's so sarcastic, and you can find a joke in literally fucking anything. People almost start to expect that from you. So humor's a very special spot, because they're like, oh, this guy's just a fucking jokester all the time, and they almost take you less serious.
I started doing it
especially in relationships.
Yeah, I started doing comedy music because you'd go to writers' rounds and you'd see, okay, she's depressed, he's depressed, she's depressed, he's going to be depressed too. And then I'm like, I'm fat.
Right, you stand out.
And people are like, wait, I'm listening.
Oh, and that's something too.
It's
It's
different.
just amazing, because you, being that person, you also put on a lot of people who I haven't been to your shows, and I won't name artist names, but I've been there. I'm like, damn, these are like some really sad songs. All they're about is like getting broken up with, love, all this stuff.
It's like, have you never once been happy?
Have you-
Yeah.
Have you been to a theme park? Like, no, like, and I feel like you're kind of fine. Like, you having Nashville Tour Stop. We're getting a little drunky.
Nashville
here.
bus stop.
Nashville.
Nashville
go.
tour bus.
Albinos. No, you being able to be like a businessman and being as funny as you are, but you've made it clear, like, I am funny, I am comical, but like, look at what I've built.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I know what I'm
I had to start
about.
acting differently at my shows because I was getting to the point where, and I still come up to it every now and then, where people won't quite take me as seriously as they should, or at least that I think that they should. And they'll be like, oh, well, just let me know when I can play. And I was like, no, there's a process, and you're going to go through it just like every other person did. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, but we're friends. And I'm like, no, you're going to go through the process the same as every other person did, because you're not any better than any one of these people.
Yeah.
Like, you might write the best songs in the world, but
everybody is your friend too, or potentially your friend.
Right.
So you have to have a way to manage the business,
mm-hmm.
and you're also not doing anyone any favors by giving somebody the opportunity to slide in, because part of success is knowing how to go through the process of getting through, like, going through the steps of being a serious
there's
artist.
no shortcuts. Just,
right.
Just climb the ladder.
Yeah.
And I mean,
exactly.
and we won't say names, and I'm sure Jenna's okay with me saying this, but being women, because we're not nearly as where you're at with Nashville Tour Stop, but we're kind of building UC movement. A guy has sent a dick pic before to us, trying to be like, oh, hey, I want to play. Well, here's this. And it's like, people believe like just because we're people and we're out here and we're hanging out, it doesn't mean you don't have to take what we're doing seriously. Like, I might make jokes all the time. I might make comments and be the funniest weirdo. But when it comes to my business,
take it very seriously.
I'm taking it very seriously.
When I go to business meetings, I wear a collared shirt. Like, you look professional, look like you take yourself seriously. If you want others to take you seriously, you got to take yourself seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I like coming right back to the unprofessional professional. I'll make jokes all night long, but as soon as you want to talk business, I'll buckle down.
And she's seen that too with me, because me and her, we work so well business-wise together, but I'm the jokester, the weirdo. She's joking too, but she's a little more like basis than me. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to business, we've both seen it. We're both like, oh wait,
snap into it.
Yeah, we dial
wait,
it
you want to do a show? Okay, well, this is business to us. All right, guys, so we're winding down towards the end of the interview. It's been 30 minutes already, surprisingly. Wow. We're drinking, we're hanging out. I hope you guys are doing the same. Aaron, you want to tell everyone where they can find you online, find you personally, find Nashville Tour Stop, also tell them your next show.
Sure.
Yeah,
Your
let
schedule,
them know.
So,
Your schedule. Just let them know.
The schedule. We have shows pretty much every night of the week. I always tell people to remember their ABCs, your alley taps, your Belcourt taps, your cabana taps. I tell you,
That's
I should have
fucking
gone to business
brilliant.
school. I'm a marketing
That's
mastermind.
fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
They're your ABCs.
I heard somebody else use that on me the other day, and I was like, I created that. And he's like, no, Rose did. The bar owner did. And I was like, it was me. I told her. So
Oh, man, that's brilliant.
remember your ABCs. We have shows on Mondays at the Moxie Hotel downtown, Tuesdays at Old Red, Wednesdays through the end of the July 2021 in the basement on 8th Avenue. That is Basement OG, not the Basement East. And I have to
specific?
clarify because on our first show on Wednesday
People showed
on
up to
June
the
9th,
wrong one.
people went to the wrong venue.
Yeah.
There's that.
They're like, this place is huge. And I'm like, you're at the wrong one. So that's our Wednesday show. We have a Thursday residency at Alley Taps downtown in Printers Alley. Friday nights are at Cabana Taps. And then Sundays is our alma mater, our first weekly show that people actually cared about is at Belcourt Taps.
And you can find Aaron literally there with his phone videotaping everyone. He's a part of every single show. He makes sure that he's there. He talks to people. If there's a face that he doesn't recognize, he tries to make an effort to go up and talk to them. And he's very approachable. Don't think just because, he's the man he is that you can't just come up and say, hey, Aaron, if you saw this interview, come up and be like, hey, I saw your interview, and it's
Tell me
so
you
cool
said
to
hi.
meet you. Yeah. What's your Instagram handle too, Aaron and Nashville
So
Tour
you
Stop?
can find my personal Instagram at the Aaron Schilb, and the only reason I picked that was because it was available across every platform.
Spell it for him.
TheAaronSchilb.
And we'll link it below.
You'll link it.
Yeah.
And then you can find me at Nashville Tour Stop, and that's everywhere. NashvilleTourStop.com has our full lineup for shows. And if you want to play, NashvilleTourStop.com has a contact form. Send me your music, and I'll give it a listen and see if I can't get you plugged in.
And for the record, you do all genres?
All genres, all ages, everyone's welcome.
He had Hugh G, which is a hip hop showcase, which I think it's amazing that he's
We have a
doing
hip hop
that.
takeover coming up in 2 days, actually.
Oh,
At the basement, yeah.
I love hip hop. Well, guys, that's all we have for today. Once again, we're at the Real Music Nashville Studios with Mitchell Ray. Check him out. We'll link him below as well. He's an official partner of the Underground Music Collective. You can also check out our business, Music City Movement, at Music City Movement on Instagram. We all follow each other, and we're all friends here. And then you can check out Underground Music Collective. I am Michelle Stone.
I'm Jenna Rose.
And this is our first segment of Drinking with Founders. Stay tuned to see what other business founders we're going to have in here to talk to. We want to talk to people. We want to have the greatest, most successful people in here and just pick their brain. So thank you guys for tuning in, and see you later.